In today's video, we're talking multi-op DJ companies and streaming services.
Yeah.
You ready, Rev?
More than I'll ever be.
Dude, this has been so fun, man.
Yeah.
I'm loving being able to do this with you, man. I'm enjoying all the things that we're learning with the podcast, man.
Me too.
But dude, let's talk multi-op. Let's you were asking me some questions the other day. You had some ideas you wanted to know, like,
yeah,
so
I'm curious.
Let's do
you know, there's a lot of guys out there that start as a single DJ business and they probably go back and forth on the idea of hiring more people under them. I had the idea, you know, obviously it's going to make a lot more money if you have people under you and kind of free up your personal time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to dive in with you on your experiences and the pros and cons of going from single DJ business to multi-op with several people under you, what you think about it.
Yeah. Well, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, like, I think, you know, I saw the writing on the wall, and I think a lot of DJs that are in the single op space probably at some point get to the feeling of, man, I'm gone all the time and I'm working constantly. You know, I can think about a couple of my friends that I know that are in the industry, and it seems like they have to work 80 events a year to really, you know, do what they want to do financially.
Yeah.
And man, I've got two kids that are at home, 11, 15, you know, and my wife is amazing. And so I want to spend as much time, you know, at home as I could. And as I started looking at our business model anyway, and I'll break that down as well, but I started looking at it and I was like, man, for cash flow, it's not sustainable for me to do 60 to 80. Well, I could do 60, but 80 events a year, you know, like that Friday, Saturday, Sunday grind is really tough, man.
It takes you out and then you're exhausted.
Yeah.
Pretty much the first part of the week, you just want to be lazy and recover to recharge your battery. And you don't get it much done.
Yeah. And after year one, I just kind of took stock. Like I just remember October year one of me doing it full time. So it'd have been really officially year two, but year one, I would do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and some of them would be driving in different to different places. And October especially, I think I ended up doing 25 weddings in the month of October in 2021.
Wow.
And what would happen, Rev, is like I would get to event number 3 and physically forget the couple's names. Luckily, you know, it was right there in front of me, all the things, but I just didn't feel like I could be as personable as I wanted to be, and I wasn't present, and it felt like a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's only so much RAM capacity that your brain can hold on to all that info.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was the reason behind, you know, my motive really was like, if we're going to continue to develop this business and really do the things that I know I want to do, certainly financially and in Northwest Arkansas, that we had to add to a team. And man, I don't know, like when I was in corporate America and I was working in nonprofit, I was always working on a team.
Yep.
And to be quite honest with you, man, I was kind of lonely. Like I was just working by myself all the time and building it by myself. And it was just a lot of alone time, which is fine. I mean, we both grew up only kids, right? So we're kind of used to that. But I just felt like, man, this would be really fun if we branched out. And so what I did was I thought, here's what I'll do is I will offer my DJ teams a different tier of finances than what maybe they have experienced in the past.
Yeah.
And, you know, I knew that our biggest success was going to be the team that we developed, not necessarily me. And so I was like, man, if we can recruit really great talent, then and pay them really well, then they'll stay and they won't, they won't want to go work for somebody else. Maybe they want to start their own thing. That's totally fine. But at least it wouldn't be because they weren't being, valued.
Yeah.
I'm
curious, when you made this leap into hiring other DJs underneath you, what's some of the stuff you were looking for, and how did you train them into what you wanted the final product to be? Like when you send them out to do a wedding or a corporate event, to make sure they're polished enough to where you're not getting bad reviews.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I'll tell you a story real fast. So I'll tell you the first event that we got off the ground with a different DJ than me, was he's still with us, Christian Sandlin. He's incredible. He had DJ'd some stuff in college and was working with me in this organization we were working in, and was really good up front. And his mic skills were incredible. Like, he was fantastic. And so I knew that he could pull that side off. So if I taught him the DJ side, and at least how to transition and, not feel like, back then, dude, like I was not anywhere close to what I am now as far as mixing technique and stuff. Dude, we were still playing on, Pioneer SB3s.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
this was, we were running playlists and fading in and out and a few, mix techniques. So it wasn't, it wasn't crazy, and our pricing wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
And so I convinced Christian that he could be a wedding DJ and he would make some side money because he was about to get married. In fact, I think he was married at the time, and they were just starting their family out. And so I was like, dude, I could teach you how to play music. Like, it's won't be hard. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, Christian doesn't know a thing about setting gear up. Like, he had never set up a PA system, any of that.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of crucial to know that.
Dude. And so I did it absolutely the wrong way. If you reverse engineer it, you're like, this was a terrible idea. So basically, I remember having an event the same night Christian had an event, and I had to set all his gear up for him. And then I had to go to my event. So that's the way I did it in the old days, is I would have one other guy or girl, and because Corinthia McLaren, she used to work with us, and she was one of my DJs at the time too. And so I would set them up, and then I would go to my event and work. But here's what happened the first time. So Christian didn't even own a MacBook computer.
Okay. He
didn't own it. I had an extra MacBook that I bought off of eBay, and gutted it and put, a bigger hard drive in and like souped it up. It was a 2012.
Yeah.
The good one. And this was 2021 that Christian was going. And so I set him up super for success. So I gave him all of his music onto this laptop. And we were running Tidal at the time to stream, to take requests, and Spotify. And Christian texts me in the middle of his first dance that his computer froze.
Oh, no.
Dude, it was
Not
the
good.
worst. But the good part about it is Christian, in his professional MC mode, is that he just spun it. He was like, he threw on, a quick phone, like plugged his phone in, because I did show him that.
Yeah.
And kind of moved people to another way, and was like, we're going to do this again here in a few minutes, folks, kind of played it off. And luckily the clients were friends of mine.
Okay.
So I had intentionally, picked my first clients for somebody else and told them, I was like, look, guys, y'all will you're going to get the buddy deal.
Yeah.
And we'll go, we'll do as best we can. And they were totally cool with it. They understood.
Yeah.
But Christian got it all back, and
that's good.
And the dance floor looked good. And man, that's how it went. But dude, it's just been trial and error.
Yeah.
You know,
I think there's an aspect to DJing, especially when you first start out, is you don't know what can potentially go wrong
No.
until it happens. And then it's like terrifying.
Mm.
And then you find the solution and you know from that point on.
Yeah.
So the longer you do it, you run into these challenges. And then
Yeah.
by the time you're 5-10 years in, it's
Yeah.
pretty smooth. But you got to clock in those hours to get through the tough times.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another fun story about that night, Rev, is right behind us. We've got this shelf. My buddy made this for us. This was my first custom DJ table.
Oh, wow.
If you can imagine hauling this freaking thing around in my trailer, I had to put it on a blanket and flip it upside down. Y'all, this is literally hit like walnut wood. And Josh made these custom legs.
And it doesn't come apart.
No.
You just carry it like that.
It just goes in like this.
Yeah.
So Christian was playing with this little SB3 and we would put our mixer next to the table, right? I had rigged up a 2-channel Yamaha mixer on a guitar pedal board that was like inclined. So it would look like this, and it was Velcroed down.
Okay.
And the wireless microphone transmitter was next to it. And I Velcroed it all. And I was like, don't touch it. and dude, it worked, man.
Yeah.
Like we just like made those the model. And so that's what everybody went out with.
Yeah.
And obviously now it's completely different.
That's a cool story, like seeing what it starts to where we are now. And like every DJ company has those stories.
Oh gosh.
I know there's pictures on a laptop somewhere that show
They're so
the
bad,
humble
dude.
beginnings. But
Maybe
that's
we'll
great.
throw it on some of this B-roll. Yeah, it is so embarrassing. But man, we look at it, when we're recording this tonight, we're actually, we're hosting a bunch of wedding vendors here at our studio. And I couldn't be more proud, man. Like, you can't see it on the shot, but we're looking at our newest setup, and like to just see where things have come. It's really cool, but it wouldn't have got there had we not taken the risk and been like, hey, let's do this as a team. I just think we're in such a better spot because we have more people like you and Rodney and Christian and Britton and our team that runs social media, Ruth and Chloe and Macy. I mean, it wouldn't be what it is without them.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I'm super grateful for it. But I think DJs that are running solo ops, single ops, just have to understand that it is a risk. And what my advice to most single op owners that are looking to go multi-op is take care of your people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be stingy with payouts, because it's going to pay huge dividends.
Yeah.
Like, I think I talk to people who end up doing it and they're like, man, I just can't trust I can't trust it, or they don't show up. There's a reason behind that.
Yeah.
Like you gotta go backwards and be like, okay, well, what did you do on the front end? Did you hire the right person? Were they the right fit for your company? Were they the right fit for your look? Were they the right fit for your vibe? And if you can't trust people to drive your best car, you probably shouldn't send them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can't trust people with, for us, dude, it's $10,000 worth of equipment.
Yeah.
You're not on my team.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's a thing where you got to make a business decision and you got to hire the right people. And, but sometimes that's risky.
Yeah. I think part of the psychology that single op, like one person DJ companies get into is you spend all this time building your brand and learning how to mix and building your music library. And you have all this that's like your look, and you don't trust handing that over to another person. It's scary. But I think you should just take the time to train those people and really dial it in. And if you have to give them your music library and show them the equipment or whatever, like you bought the MacBook for Christian, and like you got to do that stuff and get it going. And there's nothing wrong with being a single op.
No,
do that your whole life. But
you can.
If you get burnt out, I feel like it would easily burn you out.
Oh, it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I knew that for sure. And the other thing that I don't think people take into consideration in what people don't understand, especially DJs, is that in the wedding business, private events, your cash flow can really stack up when you have a multi-op team because we work on a retainer business model.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that retainer has evolved over the years, but now it's $1,000 to book with us to get on our calendar, no matter what. It's $1,000, and then the rest of their balance is due about a month before the wedding, or we offer a discount and they can pay in full when they book, which people are starting to do now.
Yeah.
And that's changing the game with cash flow too. Because what that does, Rev, is like, and we had to consult our legal team, and I have attorneys that kind of take care of all this stuff. But the advantage to that is that, now we book a certain amount of events every month, and those retainers come in.
Yeah. It's
so
just
that
up front.
It's just up front.
Yep.
And we're able to really operate a true, like, brick and mortar style of business now.
Yeah.
I mean, the space that we're in, there's no way we could afford it if we were a single op company.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And so it affords us the luxury, really it is, to hire some people to do some things for us, social media, ads, the things that we're doing with the podcast. It's allowing us to purchase the equipment, all that kind of stuff, get the good kind of equipment that's going to last.
Yep.
So those kinds of things, I think DJs miss that because they're just thinking so much about performance and how can I afford this and whatever. But if you just take a step backwards and just kind of put your business, ball cap on and say, hey, how can I, how can I create cash flow that's like right up front and that I can count on every single month?
Yep.
And so as we grow in events booked, the cash flow goes up because, we ask for that.
That's one thing I noticed before I worked with you and Ozark Mix is I did a couple weddings on my own, and I learned pretty quick, like, take a deposit, 50% up front. And then when you get that going, you're booked out pretty far out, and it's just money coming in and you haven't even done anything yet. And it's then you go and do the wedding and you get the rest of it, but it's still nice to have that little buffer in between time, and it guarantees that you're going to be there and they're going to commit to it, and there's no like wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Do people still say wishy-washy?
I think they do.
Okay.
I say wishy-washy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, the other piece to being a multi-op company is that you got a backup. Like, dude, what happens 2 days prior to your event, you're a single op. I'm sure this happened. I'm sure people are breaking out into a cold sweat watching this right now. Because I know I used to, like, the amount of events that I went to dog sick.
Yeah.
I can't count them, dude. I mean, it would happen 2 or 3 times a year when I was by myself.
Yeah.
And dude, that's the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible. You've absolutely DJ'd sick before.
For sure.
And, but like, thank heavens nothing catastrophic happened. But what happens? You get in a car wreck, all that stuff. Like, it's that person's day, and that there's no coming back from that. And so I think that was the other thing. Really, Jamie, my wife, really was encouraging me to bring on more people on the team if we were going to try to make a run at doing, say, 75, 100 events a year.
Yeah. I've gotten phone calls that's like, hey, this DJ got COVID or something. Can you come do this wedding like tomorrow?
Yeah, it happens, man.
And they got it covered, but
I mean,
I can't imagine the stress.
Dude, it's so stressful. But yeah, and I mean, we're still in the place of like building out standard operating procedures and, trying to put gear in the right place. I mean, all that stuff is still something that we still have a lot to figure out. But man, I'm grateful that we did it. I'm grateful that it's working the way it is.
Awesome.
I hope you're happy.
Yeah, I am. It saved me a lot of work building websites and all that stuff that I didn't want to deal with. So that's why I reached out to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's best, dude. It's just the best. It's the best to have people like you and just pros on the team that, you know, I can count on. Like I've been, you know, sharing on sales calls lately with couples and people who are putting on private events. I'm like, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be opposite of your schedule, you know, and like that way we're each other's kind of backup, you know, and just to be able to say that to people is so like reassuring. You know, it's like, well, because they ask, like, if they're like, well, what happens if if you're not available? I'm like, well, Rev's available, so it'll be better anyways.
Whatever. Yeah,
but it's all good.
It's good to have that safety net.
You know? 100%.
Okay, well, one thing I wanted to ask you.
Oh boy!
In episode 1 of our podcast, you mentioned briefly a story about using Tidal to stream. Maybe one of your first weddings.
My very first one.
And it didn't really go so hot. So I want to know the details of that. And then we'll talk a little bit about pros and cons of streaming services in general. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Rev, dude. It was a disaster. So your boy, I was such a rookie that none of my equipment failed. It was awesome. It was actually great. But the only real DJ work that I did prior to this certain wedding was at my house connected to Wi-Fi through Tidal.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When you decided to start DJing weddings, and you bought the equipment, how long did you have until your first paid gig that you went out publicly?
2.5 months.
Wow. That's pretty fast.
I bought an SB3 in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And had a MacBook Pro laptop and did not have 1 ounce of dance music on it.
No MP3s.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And my first wedding was at the end of May 2020.
That's bold.
I had never
very bold
DJ'd in public one time.
Yeah.
Never.
Well,
it's so obviously I could be a wedding DJ, no problem.
Yes.
So here's what happened.
And you thought Tidal was like the best way to go on that at the time?
I did a little work into it and was like, well, I don't want to buy all this music.
Right.
Exactly what I said you should do a couple episodes ago is buy the music. And I was like, I guess people just DJ from this Tidal thing. And I watched YouTube and stuff and people were doing it. And so I was like, well, there's this option to do it in Serato. Surely like it will work.
Yeah.
So I bought the monthly subscription of Serato. I downloaded it to my computer and I signed up for Tidal. And I was like, I can't use Spotify because it's not an option. So I guess I got to have another streaming service. So that's what I did. That's why I chose Tidal.
Okay.
I didn't even know about BeatSource or anything like that. I don't think Beatport at the time.
BeatSource was available as a streaming at that time.
No, I think you could do SoundCloud and, and so I was like, well, dang, what am I going to do? So that's what I did is I had Tidal and how I would have songs and create crates was all done in Tidal.
Crazy.
Okay. So I go to this event and thank goodness we were still in COVID situation. So dancing, you couldn't dance.
Yeah.
So all they wanted was background music for the reception.
Okay.
But here's the problem. They still did an intro.
Okay.
And at the time I hadn't put 2 and 2 together that you could route your SB3 through and use Spotify on the laptop to do that.
Yeah.
Like we sometimes do now. So everything was in Tidal and I hadn't downloaded anything, but the internet at the venue was not working.
Wow.
And so when I go to hit intros, there's just a pause. nothing
Well,
happens.
if the internet wasn't working, how did you have any music at all? Was it?
So I had thought to download a like Spotify playlist
Okay.
on my phone. And so I knew that, and it was right beside me, kind of hooked up via an aux cord
Okay.
into the mixer. So I go to do the intro. I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Nothing. Nothing,
air.
dude.
Wow.
Nothing. I look and the internet button is gone.
Yeah.
There's nothing happening. And I thought to myself, I am such an idiot. Like, this is not good.
Yeah.
So we make it through the intro. I fumble around. I get it on the phone.
That's
after
the worst.
what seemed like forever. They're in. At this point, everybody's wearing masks. I'm sure people are laughing at me.
Yeah.
But I charged these people $200.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. But here's the thing. Like, all my entire dinner and like reception playlist was based off of this title situation. Now, internet finally did come back, Riv.
Yeah.
But what would happen is I would go to mix a song and play the next one, and it would pause out, and it would be a couple of seconds, and it would buffer, and then finally it would go.
Wow.
So, dude, if it was a dance floor situation, it would have been even worse.
Yeah.
But I immediately left there, and I was DJing the next weekend.
Yeah.
And I figured out a new solution, and I got real music on my laptop. But it was
I see the benefit of, say you're a new DJ just starting, and there's an option like Beat Source where you pay a monthly thing and you have access to all this music. But if you're doing weddings, I think you gotta have MP3 files on your computer, and just in case SHTF, like
yeah, dude. Well, it was in that same time frame where crate hackers were starting to be developed. So shout out to Aaron and Joe Bunn and that team that put that software together.
Yeah.
So for those people who don't know crate hackers, I know you don't really need it. You've been doing it for a long time, but for people like me, crate hackers is a software that you could basically take it analyzes your music library, and there are DJs all over the world that are subscribed to crate hackers, and they create crates and set lists based on the DJ key and based on danceability.
Mm-hmm.
So it analyzes it and puts it in order based on how danceable it is.
Yeah.
And there were guys making wedding crates and stuff. And so you could go into the software, you could go to that crate and then point crate hackers to your music library that's on Dropbox. They taught you to put it on Dropbox, and it would hit Dropbox for all of your stuff. And it would make a crate for you in Serato.
But you had to have the music already, and it just kind of helped organization.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it since has evolved into, you can create a Beat Source crate now. You can create Spotify playlists now inside of there. I still subscribe and use it just to kind of get other ideas from people. But it's dope, man. I mean, like you go and you're like, it's like hip hop 2023 hits.
Yeah.
And there's DJs in there that are dropping that stuff. And so, like, if you have an edit or a remix or whatever, it'll, you can mix and match how you want to. But so I discovered crate hackers in about, August of 2020.
That's cool.
And it was better.
Yeah.
Because then what I would do is I would like pretty much hack crate hackers, and I would go purchase all the music that these crates were saying were awesome. And so that's kind of how I built my library based on, that. And then it was just like learning how to be a DJ.
Yeah.
Really. So, but what do you think of streaming services and things like that? I mean, you've been doing this a long time. Like, how is it advantageous to you?
I use it when out of the blue, someone comes and asks me for something that
Yeah.
I don't have. That happens quite a bit. And I try to always be connected to a Wi-Fi wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
And a lot of times BeatSource might not have it. I use BeatSource, and for a minute I dialed it back to, I think it's like $9 a month.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the whole locker thing.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just like, I'm going to connect to Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
But with that lower tier, you don't get intro, outro edits.
it's
I don't
tough.
think you get clean edits. I think
No.
it's all just,
Yeah, it's just whatever's out there.
yeah.
Right?
So I was like, well, this isn't going to work for weddings. So I bumped it up to the higher, I think it's like 35,
Yeah,
37.
something like that.
And you get the locker.
Mhm.
So I do throw some stuff into that. Like
Yeah.
if I have something coming up that, for example, they want a lot of country,
Yeah.
I literally go on BeatSource and just search country, and whatever playlist they have, like early 2000s,
Mhm.
90s country hits, two-step, all that
Yep.
stuff. Throw that in the locker just for that one event to make sure I have it to where it's, if they come up and say, hey man, we need some country music, I just go straight
Just
into
go to
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just go down. It's all BPM, so it's good.
Yeah. And I mean, to kind of go back to our original conversation, the way that I trained DJs in our company was through BeatSource, because, you know, I was like, BeatSource is going to give you the framework that you need. So if you go get Spinelli's,
Yeah.
you know, go create it inside of it, log in, have it ready, throw it in the locker. Cause
Yep.
I pay for all that. So
Yeah.
I give people access. I created these emails within our company that the guys go out and they have. So
Yeah.
it's specific to them. So I get it for them. Now, if they leave, they don't get BeatSource anymore.
Yeah.
But so that's the way we do it. And so they log in, they have BeatSource. I'm like, this is how you do this, you know? And it's helped them become better DJs, because, you know, BeatSource helps you a ton, you know, the intro, outro, all that, and edits, and they have all learned how to utilize that tool. And man, I tell you what, BeatSource has saved me so much time. It saved me during an event when I just would go blank and not know what to do or whatever. And it's given me these creative ideas. You know, I think I was talking about the first wedding that I did that with our buddy Palmer. And I remember that they wanted this club vibe. And I was just like, man, I felt pretty out of my element.
Yeah.
But BeatSource was my best friend, man.
That's cool.
I mean,
and surprisingly, with my experience, it's never gone wrong as far as something crashing or a file not loading.
Not
it's
at
all
all.
worked, and I've never had a song just stop, which
No.
you would think, you know, based on internet connectivity,
Yeah.
it might get weird. But
yeah.
I've had Serato DJ Pro crash on
Yes.
me more than problems with BeatSource.
Well, dude, I mean, I was texting you a couple months ago that it just completely quit on me.
Yeah.
I mean, my Rev 7 just stopped. It just
Yeah.
didn't work. And I ended up DJing the entire rest of the event via Spotify. So thanks a ton, Pioneer. I don't know what's going on. Y'all got to figure it out. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it has been solid, dude. I will say, like, there's a couple of times where you'll get in there, it'll load, and it'll only load like halfway, and you've already hit play on the song. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to mix out of this immediately.
One thing that I've had happen is, so I have my own MP3 files in the library, and then sometimes when you open Serato, it mixes all the BeatSource files in with your normal library. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I go up into the settings, and under the library tab, you can shut off streaming services. And then if you kick it back on, it loads all your BeatSource songs at the very bottom, separate from your MP3s.
Let's go.
But if you do that in the middle of a set and you're playing a song, it starts glitching out. And if it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Like, but it always pushes through it because I don't know, it's just loading that data back up.
Well, have you ever made the mistake of killing stream while you're streaming a song. I've done that.
No. How did you make that happen?
I mean, thank heavens I had, a crate pulled up that I knew had on the
well,
laptop.
how did you kill it though? I mean,
So if what I have done is like I'll be playing a beat source song and someone comes up and asks for something else and I'm searching it while this was going on and I can't find it, I'll be like, I bet it's in title. So if you switch over,
yeah,
it'll kill that stream.
It doesn't
song.
give you like a warning or anything.
It does, but I blew through it and and I was like,
no, pay attention to the flashing.
and that's on me.
Yeah,
but it says, if you do this, the streaming that's on this deck is going to quit.
Yeah.
Well, I was in such a like ADD frantic, search for this song that I was like, whatever. And so I kill it and look out, everything's off.
Yeah.
And so I just had to spin in and, do something else. But yeah, you gotta pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than no music.
Yeah. One thing I'm trying to figure out is we're using Sound Switch for all our lighting.
Yeah. Yep.
And whenever you load up like a beat source song, it still works. It's not like an auto scripted song like how we normally use. But a problem is if we hop out of Serato and play a song off of like Spotify, the lights don't process that signal at all because it has to go through Serato. So I'm hoping maybe Sound Switch guys, if you're listening,
please
find a way to make it where any audio that's playing off the computer funnels through that program and it'll run the lights somehow.
Yeah, there's some, obviously inside of Sound Switch, you have to direct traffic and say, pay attention to Serato.
And maybe there is a way to do it. I just don't know it.
We haven't figured it out. So if anybody's watching this and they know how, like
shoot us a message.
Shoot us a message on the links in the description.
Yeah.
I mean, let's figure it out. I think we were just having a conversation before we started, but the technology that's happening in the DJ world right now has some people afraid that they won't be a DJ anymore.
Yeah.
And I just don't agree. I mean, I think there's health in our industry. I think people want real people running the decks. I think you're going to get some stingy club owners that may go the AI route, but that club won't stay in business as long as others will, but it's, I'm going to use all the tools I got while I'm in this game for sure.
For sure.
So
I think just like any form of art, people have appreciation for like something. If you look at a Picasso or, Leonardo da Vinci, all that stuff is timeless. And it's like, this is amazing. And right now there's a bunch of AI programs that can generate art or images and it looks good, but I don't want to sit and look at that and think, oh, what was this computer program thinking when they designed this? There's no attachment to it.
Nah.
And music's the same thing. So.
I agree. Yeah. Like today, just announced TikTok is losing Universal Group, music, and breaking news, everybody, just so you know, like Universal Music will no longer be available on TikTok as of today.
Yeah.
Which is freaking nuts. Like, now who knows what that's going to do? Like, I mean, you're talking Daddy Yankee, Taylor Swift. Think about all the videos that will no longer have any music. Like, I don't even know what's going to happen, Rev. I really don't. But that just, to me, what it says is that, artists and the musicians and labels are not going to play this game anymore of AI, taking credit for their songs. Platforms are no longer going to be able to pay artists so that they can be on that platform. That artist, dude, I had a great artist that I follow. His name's Thad Cockrell. He sings like, kind of rock, stuff out of Nashville. Incredible. Used to be in this band called Leagues. His latest album, he refused to put it out on streaming at all.
Really?
Yes. And he charged $99 for the album. And he is selling them like crazy.
Yeah.
He's pressing out vinyl for people. Like, dude, it's a disruption.
Yeah.
And like he's updating via social media, and he he had this big break where Jimmy Fallon discovered him during the pandemic, and Thad was going to quit music, and Jimmy found him in like a hardware store. He like heard it over the thing, and blew him up. And then Thad was like, what do I do now? He's been trying to make music the traditional way and put it out on streaming and all this stuff, and he's not getting paid.
Yeah.
And so, man,
that's definitely a smart way to do it. And I think that record labels are kind of hitting a brick wall, and you can see it with them kind of just regurgitating older hits and remaking stuff.
That's right,
and
man.
I think a lot of younger people are just going to be like, screw y'all. I can put this out my own. I can record it myself. I can produce it.
Yeah.
And record labels I think they'll always be around, but it won't be a necessity like it was 20 years ago to go through that. And I think that's a cool idea, to put your music out on your own website, charge what you want. If you have the fan base that will buy that, like,
I bought one.
Yeah.
I bought an album. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude, Thad Cockrell was one of the best modern songwriters in America.
Yeah.
And I mean, the stuff that he's written that has impacted me personally, there was no way I wasn't buying that album.
Yeah.
And I saw $99 and I was like, dang, Thad, but I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
And like, DJs are starting to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of them are moving over to like Patreon or their own websites where they'll release an edit pack, and it's directly through them that you're paying instead of the Beat Source or DJ City. And they still put stuff out on those.
Yeah. But in small increments.
Yeah. But they're doing more of their exclusive edits and remixes on their own platforms, and more
like
power
to
them.
That dude we love out of New York City, DJ Suji.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, his stuff is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you have to go through his store to buy his mixes. Like it is impossible to get anything else out there. And he's doing it the right way. Like he's making them, he's spinning it. I mean, he's a great DJ, and
I think that's the future is building your own brand as a DJ, putting out your own merch, releasing edits or mixes, charge a little bit of money, and once it gets out to the masses, it's unstoppable.
Yeah,
you don't need someone above you that's controlling all that. Like you have all the access to it.
No, you think about a guy like Jake. The guy produces all his own stuff at his house, and he just comes out with hit after hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
Because he's on a grind and he's doing it his own way, and he's not controlled by somebody else.
Yeah.
And man, to me, it's so vibrant and it's encouraging as a creator myself. Like it's going to be an interesting year, man. I think there's so much changing.
I guess the message would be, don't get bummed out about the music and the state of things. Like, humans over time have always come out and innovated and pushed forward. And the AI is a cool thing, it'll help a lot of people. It's like, what I look at it is like when the internet came out back in the 90s, a lot of people thought, oh, this is evil and it's gonna knock everybody out of work. And it's like, well, maybe, but it's a double-edged sword, and AI is going to be the same thing. And so you just got to work with it and ride the wave.
Yeah. Just go do the thing, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. I love it. How about let's host an open house, bro?
Yeah. We got to do some work here.
Get set up. That's right. We're out, y'all. Hey, like, subscribe, all the things. Big major announcement though. We're going to be hitting all of the normal audio podcast platforms after this show. We wanted to get about 4 under our belt and get out there. So all the things, iTunes,
if
Spotify.
If you're tired of seeing our faces on YouTube, you can just listen to it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's another good one, Rev. We'll see you next week, dude.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, bro.
See y'all.
Later, y'all.